SoundHound AI reported quarterly financial results after the markets closed on November 12, 2024, that are sending the stock price down by more than 14% on the day following the announcement. So what was said in that earnings announcement that's sending the stock price crashing? I'll answer that question in this video. I'll also update my buy recommendation for SoundHound AI stock. Remember, I did not have the stock rated as a buy. I told investors not to buy this stock because of concerns about the company's profitability on the bottom line and the already rich valuation. Remember, the stock price was already up by so much year to date in 2024 coming into this earnings release. So I'll update my buy recommendation and review the company's financial results in this video here. So let's take a look. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. SoundHound AI reported revenue of $25 million, which was an increase of 89% year over year. These results included the acquisition of Amelia, which is a conversational AI company. Now, SoundHound AI has been acquisitive in recent quarters. This was yet another acquisition the company made. Last few quarters, it's been making acquisitions to help facilitate growth in the company's scale. So now that the company has increased revenue by this much and has broadened out its customer base, it's now increased industry diversification with well-balanced contributions across automotive, restaurants, financial services, and other sectors, each combining roughly 5 to 25% of revenue, compared to last year, where over 90% of the company's revenue was coming from automotive segments. Now, the automotive segment is an obvious beneficiary here with SoundHound AI's voice AI technology, right? When you're driving, you don't want to be typing up prompts to the AI while your hands are supposed to be on the wheel. So voice AI technology, voice communications with the AI in your car makes total sense. It's understandable that SoundHound AI would start with that category, gain traction in that category. But restaurants also are a clear beneficiary as well, especially the drive-through, where customers are ordering through a microphone and a person is taking the order. There's a lot of confusion and a lot of slowdown because of that back and forth there. And so if the voice AI can handle those orders better, so when people are ordering through restaurants, if you can have an artificial intelligence voice communication system, that means you don't have to pay for the person to take orders, and it can potentially improve the quality of service, because if a customer has a question, that person on the other end is not likely to know the answer to that question, right? You've all been to drive-through restaurants. The people on the other end taking your order are probably new to the company. They haven't been there that long. They probably haven't spent much time in training. They probably haven't gone through the customer manual, the order, the menu items, etc. Whereas the AI can be coded with all of that information about the company's menu items and answer questions from customers more accurately and more quickly than a human can. And so there's two categories there where even if SoundHound AI was to only be in those two categories, automotive and restaurants, the opportunity is so massive just in those two categories that I think it could grow SoundHound AI to a company that generates over $1 billion in revenue just from those two segments alone. Speaking of restaurants, the company signed with 7 of the top 20 quick service restaurant brands globally, and several are already live with the company's phone and drive-through AI solutions. They recently signed another top 10 global QSR brand in pizza, while expanding with 2 existing well-known pizza chains and several other growing brands like Chipotle and Casey's General Stores. This is what I like to see from a company, especially the expansions. When the restaurants are expanding with SoundHound AI, that's clear evidence that they used the technology, they found it valuable, and now they're expanding it to more locations. That's clear evidence that the company's AI technology is working well and is an improvement with what existing locations have. one of the biggest difficulties in running one of these quick service restaurants, which many of them are franchise-owned, franchisee locations, is human resources. Dealing with that huge turnover, they don't have very many resources to offer high wages for employees. They don't have the kind of resources for employee training, and they don't have the human resources to recruit new employees. That high turnover, it's a really difficult challenge for these franchisees to manage the people in the location. So if you can have AI replacing at least one of your employee needs, which are order taking, whether it be over the phone or through the drive-through, that significantly eases the pressure of operating these locations. And so these franchisee owners and then the bigger brands that are licensing out or selling the franchisees, they can make deals with SoundHound AI to incorporate that technology into the business and thereby make it more attractive to people who want to franchise these locations. So it's a really win-win situation here, and it's rare to find these win-win situations in business. And when you find them, you've got to really capitalize on them. So I think this is going to be a strong tailwind for SoundHound AI. And we're already starting to see evidence of the company's growth in this category, right? Moving on to automotive. The SoundHound Chat AI is now live in Lancia vehicles in Europe, in addition to the Stellantis brands. They are now working with 4 electric vehicle manufacturers, and they're already live in 2. They made a new commercial deal to provide voice AI assistance for commercial trucks in India, and it's a joint venture between Volvo and HR Motors. And they're expanding in India again, with Kia adding Hindi language capabilities to several models, now followed by 10 additional regional languages. The market in India is growing much faster than the market in Europe or in the United States, and so it could be a lucrative opportunity if SoundHound AI can gain traction in that region. Up until this point, you might be asking me, well, everything you pointed out so far is really good sounding, so why is the stock price down, even though the company you highlighted all of those good things they did in the most recent quarter? And the answer is cost. Right? They're achieving all of these goals, they're achieving all of these milestones, but it's coming at the expense of losses on the bottom line. The company's revenue did increase by 89%, but the GAAP operating loss increased by 132%. So the loss worsened. Last year in the same quarter, they lost $14.5 million. This year in the same quarter, they lost $33.8 million. So the losses are worsening even though revenue is improving. That's something I really don't like to see with these kinds of businesses. I like to see revenue growth leading to shrinking losses on the bottom line, because as they grow, they're achieving economies in scale, and that's lessening the losses on the bottom line. That's not what's been happening with SoundHound AI. So that's the concern from investors. That's primarily why the stock price is down by so much. It's a similar story if you look at cash flow from operations. That also worsened from a loss of $54.4 million in the same quarter last year to a loss of $75.7 million in the same quarter this year. So losses worsening as revenue is increasing. And then they had to use $12.3 million in investing activities to make the acquisition, which helped grow revenue because they're making acquisitions. So they're spending a lot to achieve this growth. And that mutes the impact, the positive impact of these growth initiatives, of these huge achievements. Thankfully, though, at least they are generating strong growth as a result of the spending. It would be much worse if they were spending and losing this much money and they weren't growing, right? That's not the case here. At least they are demonstrating solid growth, and they're raising their expectations for revenue in 2024 to be in the range of $83.5 million at the midpoint, and full year revenue of $165 million increased for 2025. That was up from the previous outlook, where management was forecasting revenue of $80 million for 2024 and $150 million for 2025. So in this quarter, they updated that guidance to increase it by several millions of dollars in 2024 and then by $15 million at the midpoint for 2025. Still, those losses on the bottom line concerned investors, and the stock price fell significantly to $6.10 a share. It's now trading at a forward price to sales of 14.5, which is still really expensive. And this is the reason why I've not had the stock rated as a buy. So I've had SoundHound AI stock rated as a hold, and I last updated that recommendation on October 31st. Following these earnings results, I'm going to reiterate my recommendation. I still think it's just a hold. I think it's too early to buy, comparing the valuation with the progress the company has made. I want to see better improvement on the bottom line before I can recommend an upgrade to this stock. Hey everyone, if you like watching my videos, then I've added a great complimentary product just for you. I've written a book that's available for sale now that highlights my 6-step investing framework. Even if you don't follow that investing framework, just reading it and knowing how I evaluate stocks will make it a lot more interesting and informative to watch my videos. I've added the link in the description below.